The boy didn't speak. Not at sunrise. Not at breakfast. Not even when Rosa brought out her tin of salve and started tending to the cuts on his arms. He flinched at first, then let her work. Quiet as stone. The scars weren't fresh. Some were weeks old. Rope burns. Bruises in the shape of hands. She said nothing. Just wiped the wounds clean, dabbed the salve, wrapped them in old linen. Mid-morning, she noticed the bracelet again. Not a trinket, not a toy. It was made from sinew and turquoise beads, each one set with care, the pattern tight and purposeful. Rosa had lived long enough in Arizona to know Navajo work when she saw it, and this was no ordinary weave. She'd seen something like it once, years ago, when a traveling trader came through with stories of a Navajo chief who wore matching bands, made by his wife before she died. He had a son, people whispered, stolen by slavers, never found. Rosa didn't want to believe in coincidences anymore. She sat across from the boy at the table, holding the bracelet gently. "This means something, doesn't it?" she asked. The boy stared at her, dark eyes unreadable. Then slowly, he touched the beads, pressed one finger to his chest, then to the sky. Rosa swallowed. Family. Lost. She got up and retrieved the small wooden box she hadn't opened in years. Inside were things she kept for memory's sake: her husband's harmonica, a dried rosary, and a folded photo of a child she'd never see again. She placed the photo on the table. A boy, maybe 6, laughing in the arms of a tall Italian man. Her son, her husband. Gone 3 winters now. Fever took them fast. The boy looked at the photo, then back at her. He didn't smile. But something softened. 2 broken lives. Sitting across a wooden table. Outside, the dog growled low. Rosa stepped to the door. In the far distance, over the crest of the red hills, a thin line of smoke curled upward. Not from a chimney. A signal. She knew that kind of fire. She'd seen it before, during the last tension with the Navajo. A call, a warning, a search. She turned back to the boy. "Someone's coming," she said. He looked up, finally, truly seeing her. His hands shook. Rosa nodded slowly. Her voice was calm, almost a whisper. "We'll face them together." The boy didn't speak. Not at sunrise. Not at breakfast. Not even when Rosa brought out her tin of salve and started tending to the cuts on his arms. He flinched at first, then let her work. Quiet as stone. The scars weren't fresh. Some were weeks old. Rope burns. Bruises in the shape of hands. She said nothing. Just wiped the wounds clean. Dabbed the salve. Wrapped them in old linen. Mid-morning, she noticed the bracelet again. Not a trinket. Not a toy. It was made from sinew and turquoise beads, each one set with care, the pattern tight and purposeful. Rosa had lived long enough in Arizona to know Navajo work when she saw it, and this was no ordinary weave. She'd seen something like it once, years ago, when a traveling trader came through with stories of a Navajo chief who wore matching bands, made by his wife before she died. He had a son, people whispered, stolen by slavers. Never found. Rosa didn't want to believe in coincidences anymore. She sat across from the boy at the table, holding the bracelet gently. "This means something, doesn't it?" she asked. The boy stared at her, dark eyes unreadable. Then slowly, he touched the beads, pressed one finger to his chest, then to the sky. Rosa swallowed. Family. Lost. She got up and retrieved the small wooden box she hadn't opened in years. Inside were things she kept for memory's sake: her husband's harmonica, a dried rosary, and a folded photo of a child she'd never see again. She placed the photo on the table. A boy, maybe 6, laughing in the arms of a tall Italian man. Her son, her husband. Gone 3 winters now. Fever took them fast. The boy looked at the photo, then back at her. He didn't smile, but something softened. 2 broken lives. Sitting across a wooden table. Outside, the dog growled low. Rosa stepped to the door. In the far distance, over the crest of the red hills, a thin line of smoke curled upward. Not from a chimney. A signal. She knew that kind of fire. She'd seen it before, during the last tension with the Navajo. A call. A warning. A search. She turned back to the boy. "Someone's coming," she said. He looked up, finally, truly seeing her. His hands shook. Rosa nodded slowly. Her voice was calm, almost a whisper. We'll face them together. The mesa watched in silence. From the ridge above Rosa's land, figures had begun to a portal, still, cloaked in leather and war paint. By noon, 5 had become 10, then 20. Watching, measuring, Rosa kept the boy inside, drew the curtains, loaded the rifle. She hadn't fired it since her husband died. Back then, it was for coyotes and rattlers. Now, it felt like a twig in a storm. By sunset, word had spread. Carter Boone rode up first, dust still rising off his boots. Then came the preacher, Father Jules, and 2 ranchers from down the creek. Men with mouths full of fear and fingers that twitched near their belts. Boone didn't dismount, just pointed. You know what that is up there? Rosa lit her pipe. I see men. On a hill. They're not just men. They're Navajo. And they're not sightseeing. Word is, a chief's boy was taken. They think he's here. No one spoke for a beat. Then the preacher's voice, soft and dry. Is it true, Rosa? She didn't answer. Didn't need to. The look in her eyes said enough. Boone spat into the dirt. They'll come down tonight. Maybe 100 of them. This ain't your fight. Hand the boy over. Rosa's voice was flat. And if I don't, you'll bring war to our doorsteps. She looked up at them. Worn boots. Calloused hands. Men she'd traded bread and salt with for years. Not friends. Not enemies. Just neighbors who wanted peace. As long as someone else paid for it. I won't give him up, she said. He came to my door near dead. He stays until I know he's safe. Father Jules stepped forward. Rosa, think of the others. The children. The pregnant women. If they think we're hiding a Navajo child. I'm not hiding him, she cut in. I'm sheltering him. No one spoke. The boy peeked through the curtain. His eyes met Boone's. Something passed between them. Fear. Recognition. Maybe shame. The boy ducked away. Boone shook his head. You just signed your own damn death sentence. Rosa didn't flinch. As the men rode off into the rising dark, Rosa checked the rifle, bolted the door, and sat by the boy's cot. The dog whimpered. The mesa was no longer watching. It was waiting. That night, the town gathered by torchlight, behind the church, beside the dry riverbed. Men, women, even children, faces tight with fear and whispering old stories of raids and stolen lives. They weren't soldiers, just farmers, miners, store clerks. But fear made them one thing: dangerous. Rosa stood alone in the middle. The boy sat behind her on a step, wrapped in a wool blanket, watching. Silent. Mayor Hollis spoke first. Fat, tired, and sweating through his collar. We ain't here for vengeance, he said. We're here for reason. Miss Santini, no one questions your heart. But your choice put every soul in this valley at risk. Rosa didn't blink. The boy came near dead, she said. He didn't ask for this. Boone stepped forward. Maybe. But his people think we stole him. That makes all of us targets. A murmur ran through the crowd. Then Father Jules lifted his hand. Let the widow speak. Rosa looked around. At the same faces who'd brought her bread after her husband died. Who prayed for her baby. Even as the fever took him in her arms. You all talk about risk, she said. But you forget what risk already lives here. She pointed to her chest. My child's buried under that old oak. My husband died coughing blood in the same bed that boy sleeps in now. Death doesn't wait for war drums. It lives here, in dust and drought, in childbirth and fever. The wind kicked up ash from the torches. What I did, she said, was feed a hungry child. I didn't ask what tribe he came from. I asked if he was breathing. Silence. Then a woman's voice cracked. And if they come for him? Rosa turned. Then let them come, and I'll speak to them. Not with guns, with truth. Boone laughed once bitter. You think savages want truth? I think they want their child safe, Rosa replied. She looked at the boy. His eyes locked with hers. Steady now. Mayor Hollis cleared his throat. There's talk of sending him out tonight. A wagon, left at the crossroads. Let them find him without blood. Rosa shook her head. I won't leave him alone again. If he goes, I go with him. And in that moment, something shifted. Not a roar, not applause. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that says, Someone spoke what needed saying. Father Jules nodded. Then we pray for your path. Rosa took the boy's hand. The fire cracked behind them. The town did not cheer, but they did not stop her either. And in this part of the world, that was its own kind of miracle. They left before dawn. No goodbyes, no promises, just Rosa, the boy, and Padre trotting behind, their wagon creaking over cracked earth and cold wind. The sun hadn't yet burned off the night. Stars still clung to the edge of the sky. The boy held tight to the side rail. Rosa sat beside him, reins loose in hand. Her shotgun lay wrapped in a saddle blanket near her boots. She didn't know where to go only that the signal fires from the mesa burned northeast, toward canyon country. Toward them. By midday, they reached a dry arroyo, scattered with yucca and bones. Rosa halted the wagon to let the mule drink from a shallow stream. That's when she heard it. Hooves. Close. Fast. She grabbed the shotgun, motioned the boy to hide. He slid down behind the wagon. Padre growled low in his throat. 3 riders came over the ridge. Not Navajo. Not any tribe she knew. White men. Hardened. Dusty. Armed. Their leader wore a long coat and a silver chain across his vest. The kind of man who smelled like smoke and broken deals. "Well, look at this," he said, grinning. "A lady and a native boy. Must be Christmas." Rosa didn't lower the gun. "We're passing through," she said. "Don't want trouble." He tilted his head. "Funny. I heard there's a reward for a Navajo boy. Escaped from one of those education camps. Worth a good sum." Rosa's stomach turned. "He's with me," she said. "He's not for sale." The man laughed. "Oh, darling, everything's for sale out here." The other men began to circle the wagon. Rosa cocked the shotgun. "Take another step," she warned, "and one of you won't take another breath." Something in her voice made them pause. A second passed, then 2, then one of the men drew his pistol. Rosa fired first. The shot kicked dust and blood. The man screamed, clutching his leg. The mule bolted. Chows. She grabbed the reins and drove hard, the wagon rattling over rocks, the boy clinging for life. Padre barked, running ahead. The gunman shouted behind, but didn't follow. Too hurt. Or maybe just too stunned by the widow who shot first. They rode for miles. Didn't speak. Didn't stop. Finally, near dusk, they reached the edge of a stone valley where smoke curled gently from a hidden fire in the rocks. Figures stood watching, not with weapons drawn but waiting. Rosa slowed the wagon, turned to the boy. "This is where you belong," she said softly. He looked up, afraid, but he nodded. They had crossed the line now, from dust into something sacred. They met her in silence. 7 men, seated in a wide half-circle around a fire blackened by many winters. Behind them, shapes moved in the shadows, women, warriors, elders, children, all watching. Rosa stood alone in the firelight. The boy beside her, small but steady. Padre lay at her feet. A woman stepped forward. Old, with braids down her back and eyes like cracked stone. She spoke in Navajo. The boy answered. Then silence again. Chief Toya appeared next tall, cloaked in a mantle of eagle feathers. His face was lined with age, but his eyes held no warmth, only waiting. He spoke low, measured, like thunder wrapped in silk. The boy translated, voice quiet but clear. "Why did you bring him back? What do you want from us?" Rosa shook her head. "I want nothing," she said. "He came to me, half dead. I gave him food, water, that's all." The chief's face didn't change. "You could have sold him." "I didn't." "You could have let him die." "I didn't." Toya nodded once. A signal. A younger man face painted in red clay stepped forward. He was angry, not at Rosa, at the world. His words came fast and sharp. The boy translated. "He says too many of us vanish. Taken, beaten, broken. You're the first to return one. He doesn't trust it." Rosa looked him in the eye. "You shouldn't," she said. "But I did what I could." The old woman spoke again. This time, her voice was softer. A chant. Almost. The boy listened, then turned. "She says the spirits are watching. That this moment is not about the past. It's a test." Rosa didn't understand. Then the woman stepped back, and the circle opened. Toya motioned for Rosa to enter. She stepped forward. One of the elders, old enough to look part stone himself, pointed to a blanket near the fire. Rosa sat. The boy sat beside her. Then he began to speak. He told them everything. The storm, the hunger, the woman who gave him bread, the photograph on the table, the quiet sobs she thought he didn't hear. He didn't embellish, didn't beg. Just truth. When he finished, the elders were silent. Then the oldest among them leaned forward and asked the boy one question. He answered in one word. The chief turned to Rosa. He asked, "Would she do it again? Would she risk her life for another of our children?" The boy said yes, without hesitation. Rosa felt something in the air shift like frost melting before the first light. The old man nodded. The circle was complete. The fire did not roar. It breathed. And in that breath, peace lived. Morning came with smoke and song. Drums beat slow from the hills as Rosa stood just outside the council shelter, eyes half closed in the sun. The boy was safe resting in the arms of an elder woman who braided his hair and hummed in a voice older than language. Chief Toya stepped beside her. "You passed the trial," he said. "But trials leave cracks." Rosa nodded. "So what now? To our young men, you are a puzzle. To our old men, you are a question. But to the mothers, you are something else." He gestured behind them. A crowd had gathered, quiet, curious. They didn't cheer, didn't threaten, just watched her, as if waiting for something she hadn't yet done. Toya continued. "They want a sign. Not from me. From you." Rosa's voice was calm. "I didn't come for approval. I came to return a child, then give them something more," he said. She looked around, at the place that could have become her grave, at the faces that still carried pain, carved deep, then down at her hands rough from land, blood, and time. Rosa reached into her coat, pulled out the photograph. Her son, her husband, smiling into a world that no longer existed. She walked to the center of the fire circle, held it up. "I lost them," she said. Her voice cracked. She let it. "To fever. To the kind of death that comes with no one to blame." The wind picked up, as if listening. "I couldn't save them, but I saved him. Not because he's Navajo, because he's a child." She set the photo down gently by the flames, alongside a carved stone the boy had left there earlier. Then she stepped back. Toya nodded. "That is enough, but not for all." From the crowd stepped a young warrior toll, silent, teeth clenched. He approached the fire, pulled a feather from his braid, laid it next to the photograph. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Others followed, one by one. Women, elders, even children. They came with token shells, beads, clot hand, placed them at Rosa's feet. Not as tribute. As witness, Padre barked once, breaking the hush. The chief turned to her. "You have their respect," he said. "But not just that." "What then?" "Their protection." Rosa blinked. "Meaning? To harm your land is to harm this tribe. From this day forward, you are under the watch of more eyes than stars." She looked around, and saw no enemies. Only people. Broken, like hair, but choosing at least for now to build something different. With that, the price of mercy was paid. In full. Years passed like wind through canyon stone. Rosa Santini never left the land. The little house near the well stayed the same, wood cracked, roof patched, smoke rising slow from her chimney. But the people who came, that changed. They came in silence at first. A child with fever, a wounded scout, a woman with torn sandals and blood on her hands. Rosa fed them, gave them water, asked for nothing. Word spread, not through newspapers or town criers, but in quiet talk at trading posts, whispered prayers under blankets, markings scratched into trail rocks. "Go east. To the widow, by the well. She will help you." Sometimes, settlers came too. A cowboy with a fevered horse, a widow needing flour, a preacher lost in the Badlands. Rosa helped them too. She asked no one's tribe, only their wounds. And so her home became something rare, a place between. A boy grew into a man. He returned often, sometimes with warriors, sometimes alone. His name was Ashki now, a peace-bearer, translator, bridge walker. They said he could calm a blade with words. that he'd once made two feuding ranchers bury their rifles and plant corn together. Each year, on the day Rosa first found him in the dust, he came back. He brought food, news, stories. They'd sit near the fire, just as they did that first night, not speaking much, just watching the sky shift, and the dog Padre long gone replaced by his quieter, older son. On Rosa's last night, the moon was low. Ashki sat beside her, now grown tall, scarred but still carrying the boy she once saved. She gave him the photograph. "It's yours now," she said. "Don't lose it." He didn't speak, just held it close. Then he asked, "Why did you really help me?" Her answer came like always simple, heavy, because someone should have. She passed before sunrise, peacefully, without pain, under blankets that smelled of cedar and old ash. Ashki buried her by the old oak. He carved no stone, just marked the spot with a flat piece of river slate. On it, he painted only this: "She fed one child. She saved two peoples." And so the bridge stayed, not in bricks, not in treaties, but in memory, in the path between two fires, walked by a woman who had every reason to say no, and chose yes. In the desert world, where death often comes before greeting, compassion is not a given. It is a choice, a risky choice. Rosa did not save the boy because it was safe. She did not protect him because the law required it. She saved him because in that moment, no one else did the right thing. And the right thing, however solitary, was worth it. The story is not about an unbeatable hero. It is about a broken woman who stands between two fires, prejudice and hatred, and chooses to be a bridge. In a world where guns often speak before hearts, simple kindness can open paths that politics and war cannot reach.